Okay, really quick, I have to talk about the Extinction Rebellion. So, for people who don't know, that is an organization that's been doing a series of protests all around the world, but I think particularly featured in the United Kingdom. I think that's where it started, and it's been going on the past several weeks. They've been shutting down bridges and streets and doing protests in front of financial institutions, government buildings, gluing themselves to things, doing die-ins where they lie on the floor. You can see a picture here. They're laying on the floor, some other stuff, die-ins, things like that. And we've got these like priestly people. That's them. That's part of the Extinction Rebellion too. They're wearing these red robes and they're feigning their great anguish and everything, and they're suffering, and look at me, I'm suffering. All that kind of thing. So, what do I think about this movement? I think it is a very wrong and ridiculous, perhaps very evil movement. Let's just take a look at some of their demands here. They want a declaration. Number one, this is at their website, rebellion.earth. First demand, they want the government to make a declaration saying there is a climate emergency, not very specific, but okay. The second thing, the big thing, I think, is they want people to stop emitting carbon dioxide by 5 years from now, 2025. Okay, and then that's insane. I don't understand how you could possibly do that. And the third thing, they want some citizens' assembly, which is people chosen at random to be part of some government board to deal with this issue. Let's focus on number two, though. The Act Now and net emissions by zero by 2025. So stop using fossil fuels in 5 years. That totally ignores... I mean, let's put aside what the situation is of the climate, but just by itself, our civilization is entirely dependent on energy, and a lot of that is fossil fuels. So if we were to stop using that, that would be an almost complete extermination of humanity. It would be an extinction level event. There is a real extinction level event for you right there. Okay? That I can tell you for a fact before we even look at the climate. Okay. Now let's look at the climate. They're saying there's a climate and ecological emergency, and we need urgent change. Well, that is not very specific, and a lot of these people, they don't seem to have a lot of science or evidence. There's a lot of speculation and catastrophic predictions, but if you actually look at the track record and the science, it doesn't back up a catastrophic climate change at all. So that's the other thing. So you have to look at the positives and the negatives of the situation. So what happens if we stop using fossil fuels? Huge negative. Almost everyone dies. Okay. What's the positive? Well, I guess we're going to have slightly less carbon dioxide. We're going to have a lot less carbon dioxide or something. Okay. How much is that going to help us? Not that much, really, because how bad is the problem? Not that bad. So the solution, as they have it, is infinitely worse than the problem. It's sort of like if you get a paper cut, just cutting off someone's head as the solution. It doesn't make any sense at all. So, and this is not new for the environmentalist movement. I mean, it goes back to Paul Ehrlich with the population bomb, and that's the same stuff they're talking about now. We're all going to starve to death. The population bomb, by the way, was published in 1968. And this is the type of stuff they've been talking about since the 70s. And there's been multiple environmentalist scares which have not been substantiated by the science. And often when that happens, they just create a new one and move on to the next. And they never apologize for the previous one. And most importantly, in order to judge this issue, we have to have a good framework and look at the full context. And that absolutely includes understanding the benefits that fossil fuels do for us in protecting us from our climate, protecting us from a naturally dangerous climate, giving us the food, giving us the shelter, giving us our energy, which pretty much does everything for us. I mean, we couldn't sustain the population we have today without that energy. If we stop using that, the only people that would survive would be people like the Amish or something living on farms. It would be literally a sci-fi movie like Planet of the Apes or something. That's how extreme of a result it would be. And there are alternatives to fossil fuels to some extent, like nuclear, which are also good, but we've stagnated with nuclear for almost half a century or more, and that's been largely due to the environmentalist movement, which has made it uneconomical and very slow to deploy. But anyway, these people, they tie in with the veganism as well. They think humans are speciesists. Speciesists, yeah, that's a word for them, I guess. And at least the word to some people. I don't know if it's an official word. But the environmentalist movement has a long history of considering humans a plague, a scourge on the earth. They're not big fans of humans. So I think we need to be mindful of that. And I also wonder how many of these people are vegan, because I do think I've seen a lot of examples, maybe called anecdotal evidence, of people going vegan and just becoming very unhinged, making people crazy, sort of. And there's different kinds of crazy. There's an ideological crazy, but a lot of these people are really unhinged as well. So anyway, we'll be watching this as it unfolds over the next few weeks. They say they want to continue it. I'm showing a map here. As you can see, they've got groups in the United States. They've got a lot of groups in Europe. And they also have Australia and New Zealand, and kind of scattered all over the world. These protests have been going on all over the world. Just a brief quote from one of the big leaders, Roger Hallam, which has been in a lot of the interviews. If you've seen him, he's kind of the guy with the long gray hair with the ponytail behind his head. He's been interviewed, and he says this is a movement against capitalism. He said socialism can bring people out of poverty. I mean, these people are just completely upside down. Capitalism brings people out of poverty. It's because capitalism is about unlocking the power of the human mind, and the human mind is what can produce. Capitalism is the freedom to produce. Now, that doesn't mean everything that we do today, the status quo, is capitalism or is good. But capitalism is absolutely good if you stick with the definition of what capitalism is. It's good. It's freedom. It's individual rights. It's using reason. It's using your head. Capitalism literally refers to the capitis, which is your head. And that's where the production for humans comes from. That's what we rely on. And that's why we need freedom. That's how why we have a useful concept of individual rights, because it's directly necessary for human life. Okay? Now, we can have another video on the topic of individual rights and capitalism and freedom, but the idea to attack human existence and think humans are bad, or even to just think about climate change in a sloppy way, is extremely harmful, because we need to think about it carefully. We need to think about the risks and the benefits of using fossil fuels, not just the risks, not just the negatives. And we need to look and be precise about what type of climate change we're talking about, what's been demonstrated, and what are just these wild speculations, okay? Very big difference, all right? So anyway, that's climate change. We'll probably be talking about veganism some more in the future. And please subscribe. That's under 10 minutes. Thank you very much. Talk to you later. Bye.